I'm Laura. Welcome to the 7th of 8 annual schoolhouses. Today I'm going to show you Kimberbell clear blue tiles and orange pop rulers. So join me as I show you how these projects work. Kimberbell's clear blue tiles program is quilting your quilt in your embroidery hoop on your embroidery machine. We will get all sorts of things completed just with our embroidery machines. In the package, you get a book with instructions and the different designs that you have. You will get 2 slap bands, and I'll show you what they are used for. You will get 2 water-soluble pens, and you will get the USB stick. And on the USB stick, there are 6 background designs, and there's about 22 sizes of each of those designs. There are 2 border designs for a total of 24 in different sizes, and 6 biddy blocks. This is the essential set, and it goes from 2x2 to 8x10. The expansion set is for those of you that have the bigger hoops, the 12 and the 14-inch tall hoops. So you are not limited on doing these programs. They only recommend that you do a 60-inch square or 60-inch project because anything bigger than that will drag on your machine unless you have some other way of setting it up so that you can do a bigger quilt. This program is extremely easy to use, and I encourage all of you who have an embroidery machine to give it a try. What they do recommend is that you have your backing 2 to 4 inches bigger than your project. Your batting, another inch to 3 inches, it's up to you, and then your quilt top. They also recommend, as you can see here, that you tape down the edge of your batting and your quilt top so that your embroidery foot doesn't catch in the fabric as you're doing the outer edges of the quilt. On this particular one, I've also found my center markings. My quilt, I know, is 24 inches square, so I found the center vertically and horizontally, and we will work from the center out in this project. Now, I know that I can get 3 8-inch square designs on this project, not that you have to do 8-inch, you can do 6-inch. Now, in this particular project, I'm doing all over design. I'm not doing any custom work, and I will show you what you can do with custom work in a minute. What you would do is you would line up your tile with the center markings on your quilt. You will notice that there is an arrow at the top of the tile. That indicates that that's the top of your quilt, and so it has to be at the top of your hoop. You would mark the lines on all 4 lines. You would mark the center because that's where your needle needs to fall. You would also mark your outer corners and the outer sides. You can see where I have already marked this. Then there is a little box here, and what this is for is that when we've finished marking our quilt, sometimes we can't remember what size we were using, so you can mark in here 8x8 because this tile is 8x8. Once you've done that, you would continue from the center out, just like you would a normal quilt. Now you can switch it up. Maybe you want to do 6-inch tiles on the outer edges. So you can do that, and then you can also put a 2-inch section around. And this would be customizing your quilt to how you want it. If this quilt was done in 6-inch blocks, you could take your 6-inch tile, and each block could be done differently. You could do different color threads. You can do different types of designs. If you wanted to customize a project, as I've done on this table runner, I know that this area here is 8 inches. So you could line up your clear blue tile for there, and then you would place your borders along here and your biddy block, wherever that is, on the corner. And you would mark all 4 corners. And then you would just move it along, just like you would when we were doing the quilt top. This project is included as part of the Kimberbell clear blue tiles, and it comes, you can do it in all sorts of colorways, like they have done here, where they've got a winter, a summer, a spring, and a fall. And you can either do all over design, or you can customize it to what you would like to see. Once you've got everything marked, then it's time to hoop your project. And what you do for that is they recommend that you use a plastic template that came with your machine. In this case, this is my plastic template. And you would hoop it in your hoop. And for me, you would jiggle it around. And in my case, I didn't quite get low enough. And you can pull it. And then once I've committed to this particular way, I have magnets that would attach to the sides of my hoop, holding my fabric in place. You load your design onto your machine, put your hoop onto your machine, and press start. And in a few minutes, you will have your first block done. Here is one block, or a couple of blocks that I have already stitched. There's 3 right across, and I've used the darker thread here on the side that you can see it a little bit better. And you can see how nicely they all lined up. For the slap bands that came with this, once we've hooped a project, we would roll the sides up, and because we want to keep this excess fabric out of our way on our machine. So we would use these to hang on to that fabric so it stays out of our way. So Kimberbell has thought of everything in the clear blue tiles. Now, you're not restricted to the designs that are within this particular project. You can go to Kimberbell's site through our website, as we are an affiliate of them, and there are hundreds of designs that you can choose from, either using the clear blue method or block by block. And you can use the block by block with the clear blue tiles. So I encourage you to check it out, because there's a lot of fun doing this. Thank you. For the orange pop rulers, Kimberbell has come out with 2 different sets. There's the square set, and the rulers inside here are 8.5, 6.5, 4.5, and there's a bonus half square triangle square up ruler. For the rectangular ones, there is an 8.5 by 10.5, a 6.5 by 8.5, a 4.5 by an 8.5, and 3 bonus rulers. And you can use these rulers for not only embroidery projects, but you could use them for fussy cutting your fabric. And I'll show you in a minute what I mean. For the first block, we want this to be squared up to 6.5. So we would take our 6.5 square ruler, and we would line it up on the block, and we would visualize it in the middle of the spacing it in the middle. And it might be easier to use 2 rulers so that you can get it right where you want to. We're going to twist this a bit, make sure it's nice and square, shift it around a bit. We would pull this ruler out, and on these rulers there's these really nice little slots, and what you would do is you would get your cutter in there and you go right down right into that slot. Then you would gently turn your rotating mat. You come over here, hold on to this side, cut, and then we would turn it again. And we would just keep doing this until we've done all 4 sides. And finally, whoops, we don't want to shift it. We would go like this, and then we would pull this away. And we have our nice squared up block, like so. Sometimes a block is an odd shape. it will be a 4.5 by a 10.5. Well, we don't necessarily have a ruler for that, but I'll show you what to do to get that size. So on this particular one, it needs to be 6.5 by 10.5. We don't have a 6.5 by 10.5 ruler, but we do have an 8.5 by 10.5. And then we would also take our 6.5 by 8.5, and we would make sure that it's all nicely in that area. And we want to make it as square as we possibly can. And I just want to double check on my sizing here. And we do both. And what we would do on this particular one is we would cut down both sides. We turn this around like so. This isn't something you want to pick up and move. And then we would cut down this side. And now I want to gently remove this template, and we're going to turn our mat around, and we're going to get this side, and then we're going to turn it once again like so, and we're going to get this side. Now, because I had to use a different sizes here, I would then take a ruler, and I'll just use this one, and I'd line it up and finish off these cuts. Get that side finished, and I would do the same. Now I don't have the regular ruler, and I would have probably used that just to be on the safe side, but we're going to do this. It works. And then we have a 6.5 by 8.5 block cut out. So this helps you make sure that your blocks are squared and that everything's centered the way they're supposed to be. Now you don't have to use this just for embroidery projects. You could use these rulers for when you want to square up or fussy cut fabric. And I will show you how to do that. Another use for these orange pop rulers is when you're fussy cutting for a project that you have on the go. Now, as you can see on here, I want to cut these flowers out. Now, it's really difficult sometimes trying to get your ruler in the right position on your fabric before you commit to cutting. So then you can visualize this in here. This little ruler that is in the rectangular batch of rulers is a bit of a 3.5-inch little ruler. So you can check to make sure that everything is even all the way around. And if it's not even, well, then you make your little adjustments here. And then you would, the same process that we did with the blocks, is we would cut all the way around, going right into those slots, and then we have our perfect little block. And you can do this if you wanted a bigger cut, you wanted more flowers in it. The sky's the limit with these rulers. These rulers would make it very easy to do I Spy quilts. It would help you line up your blocks and get your project, your little fussy cutted blocks done and easily. Also within the rectangular rulers, there is a tumbler block that you can use to cut your blocks. And there's also one for squaring up flying geese. The other thing that they recommend is that you put true grips on the back of your rulers. So this would help them from not slipping around while you're trying to cut. There's nothing worse than the ruler slipping off where you don't want it to be. And you can put it on the back of all your rulers so that they're not moving around while you're doing things. You can also use this to help, although this is for squaring up half square triangles, you could also use this to do different blocks as well to get your placement of them the where you want them to be. I hope you've enjoyed my videos, and if you have any questions, feel free to send them to the store and I will answer them as best you can. Thanks.